Of course, China made a very significant contribution to the Second World War by fighting Japan. The Japanese forces initially were very strong. They invaded China in 1937. They took over Beijing, they took over Shanghai, they committed, as we all know, that terrible massacre in Nanjing, and then they went south and west, and China was in severe difficulties. So in 1938, everyone really expected the defeat of China and the huge victory by the Japanese. This did not happen because the Chinese resisted wonderfully, you can say, but it took, of course, a lot of resources, a lot of manpower. The country was devastated. But if that had not happened, if China had not managed to not to be defeated in 1938, then the entire Second World War would have been very different, because Japan found it much more difficult to defeat China as they had expected. So they needed to put a lot more resources into the war against China than they had expected. And these resources, of course, were not available for other means in the Second World War. The general public in the Western world doesn't really know that much about Japan's attack on China and China's resistance. So when we think in the West, at least public opinion, when we think about the Second World War, we think about Hitler, we think about Mussolini, we think about the atomic bomb, but we don't really think of Japan, China in the late 1930s and throughout the 1940s until the dropping of the atomic bomb. I think that there is some need to rectify that. You know, the Second World War was not just about Hitler and Mussolini, it also was about Japan, of course, and in that context, it very much was about China and fighting Japan, and quite successfully. It is important to commemorate achievements in the past and the overcoming and end of war in the past, but there's also a lesson for us today. We should all realize that war is a terrible thing in all respects, that peace is much better. And again, I think that should remind us today not to be so careless when trying to conduct international relations which may lead to war.